Welcome back. In a statement move, Brazil has decided against joining China's multi-billion-dollar Belt and Road Initiative, also known as the BRI. And this comes as a major setback to Beijing, as Brazil is now the second BRICS nation after India, which flatly has refused to endorse the mega project. Now, according to the country's special presidential advisor for international affairs, Brazil will be looking for alternate ways to collaborate with Chinese investors. However, with a caveat, Brazil has said that it wants to take the ties between nations to a new level without having to sign an accession contract. This announcement just follows a few months before Chinese President Xi Jinping's scheduled visit to Brazil. To put this into context, let me go across to my guest joining me at this point. We have Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat, and I'm also joined by RSN Singh, author and, of course, strategic affairs expert. Thank you both, gentlemen, for joining us this afternoon. Ambassador Sajjanhar, let me come to you first. How strategic in terms of diplomacy and geopolitics is it to have a nation such as Brazil, which is a key component of the global south, key member of BRICS, openly snubbing China just a few days after India did the same on the BRI initiative?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on your program. You are very right. I think this has been a little late in coming, because you would recall that the BRI initiative was launched as the One Belt, One Road initiative in 2013 when Xi Jinping came to power, and he first went first to Kazakhstan and then to Indonesia to launch the continental part and then the maritime part of the Belt and Road initiative. Now, the relations between, particularly after President Lula has come to power, relations between China and Brazil have been very good, have been very positive. We've seen that, even when President Lula visited China, he made all the right noises, all the right remarks. But I think Brazil has also come to realize that becoming a member of the BRI is akin to sort of paying homage to the Middle Kingdom. China considers itself to be at the top of the hill, and all the other participating countries are in some way subjugated to it or subservient to it. So it wants to engage in relations with China. It wants that, it'll have outside the purview of the BRI. It'll have relations, it'll have projects, it'll have investments, it'll have infrastructure initiatives, but it does not wish to become a part of the BRI, because that would send out a very wrong message in its view that it is, in some way a subservient power to China. And that, as you put it, I think it is a snub to China, because India had right from the word go, if you'd recall, that when the first BRI forum was held in, I think it was 2017, and the Chinese side tried their hardest to get India involved. They said India will be isolated because there are more than 100 countries that are participating in this initiative. You would recall, even at that time, representatives of the United States and of Japan, who had problems with China, they also attended and participated. But India took a very principled stand on two aspects. One, it is passing through the Gilgit-Baltistan area, which is illegally occupied by Pakistan. It has this China-Pakistan economic corridor, which it had launched. So it was violating the territorial integrity and sovereignty of India. And secondly, that this project, this initiative, it had not been discussed with India, as China had stated that we are discussing and negotiating with all the partner countries. So without our, being a part of these discussions, negotiations, I think China did not participate in negotiations with the other countries also. We said it has no benefit, it has no advantage for us.
All right.
So we are not going to participate. And of course, after that, we had Doklam and then Galwan in 2020. So there was no question of being a part of this. But I'm glad that this has dawned on, this realization has dawned on Brazil. And I do sincerely hope that this message will go to the other countries who are falling under debt trap, who are facing,
That's you.
unviable,
I'm
economically
so glad you mentioned
unviable
Ambassador
projects
Sajjana, the
coming from China
debt
under
trap
the
diplomacy,
BRI.
because that was my next follow-up question as well. And on that, I'd like to get an RSN Singh as well at this point. China's infamous debt trap diplomacy, RSN Singh, something which has ensnared the rights likes of Sri Lanka or Maldives and Mauritius, several other countries in Africa as well, has been infamous here. Do you see this as a first sign that countries in the global south are now understanding the perils of being debt ridden to China and are deciding to say no thanks?
No, it has been 11 years or so now. It was first initiated in 2013. Now this is to 2024, and in 11 years, well, I think the experience that we see of various countries has not been particularly good. Even Pakistan, Sri Lanka,
Yeah,
others. Yes, it is one thing to say that 150 countries are signatories, but remember when you say that two countries have, first India and then major countries and Brazil, they have now decided not to be part of it. These are not merely two countries. Well, we are, I mean, they're very powerful.
Array, audio is not clear. I cannot.
Uh, Hello.
that Ambassador Sajjana will rectify that audio connection. RSN Singh, please go on.
So I said that we are a major country as far as the Asia is concerned, and Brazil is a major country, as far as South America is concerned. So that is very significant. That is very significant, and I somehow feel that Brazil, feels that it is contrary to the spirit of BRICS actually.
Okay.
If you want to create BRICS as an alternative, then it's China cannot be at the center of it. Everybody is an equal partner, and therefore they are absolutely right that I mean, after all, every country prioritizes its own infrastructure. We prioritize our own infrastructure, and then maybe if, I mean, if we feel suitable, I mean, it can be integrated with whatever infrastructure we have. Aren't we constructing India, Myanmar, Thailand, highway? It's not part of the BRI. And
So,
also,
Asin
let
Singh,
me
you're
tell you,
saying that essentially more and more countries are reading through this duplicity and hypocrisy of China, which wants a multipolar world but does not want a multipolar Asia. That congruency came out, disparity came out in that recent LAC disengagement statement, in which China said it wants a multipolar world but doesn't mention a multipolar Asia here. And that level of hypocrisy is something at BRICS which is being questioned by other members, saying that a group that was essentially constituted to challenge Western hegemony cannot become a hegemony in its own right.
you are absolutely right, sir. You are absolutely right. And let me take it a little further. This upheaval or instability that you see in Bangladesh and Myanmar is also very much attributable. One of the major factors is this, China-Pakistan economic corridor, and the envisaged China-Bangladesh economic corridor. So the other powers are contesting it. I mean, you can think over it, but I feel that that's one of the major factors. And there are very many people who are countries who feel that it's the BRI is like a
Okay.
Trojan horse for military and economic expansion of China. So I don't fault Brazil for what they are saying. They're absolutely right. They're
Okay.
absolutely right. And then the
Uh,
debt trap you mentioned. And again, why should we prioritize our infrastructure
Absolutely.
development, in consonance with the Belt Road Initiative? Every country has its own pattern and
Absolutely.
priority of infrastructure development.
Absolutely. 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 Let me bring in the Ambassador Sajjana for the last word. Ambassador Sajjanar, at a time when the global south, and India, of course, likes to be one of the leading voices of the global south, is realizing the challenge of countering Western hegemony and a unipolar world. How does it also try to navigate the concern of China trying to position itself as an alternative hegemony by itself? Because a grouping like BRICS, a grouping like SCO, these are groupings which are essentially meant to counter the Western liberal order. But the challenge remains to not ensure that these countries become hegemons in their own right. Ambassador Sajjanhar, can you hear me? All right, I think we've lost Ambassador Sajjanhar there, and it's an unfortunate, that's a shame as well, because I would have loved to hear his question. But thank you so much, Ambassador Sajjanhar, and also RSN Singh, for joining us with your views on this interesting debate.